So I did this while the credit was rolling and pretty much summarizes the game. And here we go. Alan Wake Notepad review. It follows the story of a writer named Alan Wake, and it starts with him going on a vacation with his wife. On the first day, they start arguing with each other, and he somehow loses his wife and blacks out to a week later, and he has to now find out what has happened and find his wife. Yeah, so that's basically how the story starts. Not gonna go too deep into it because it's a spoiler if you guys are planning to play the game. So not gonna break too much of a spoiler here, and that is basically the background of the story of the game. So the gameplay is it's a third-person shooter. It kind of plays like Resident Evil 4. I think this game is basically what Resident Evil 4 wanted to be. In my opinion, a lot of people think Resident Evil 4 is one of the best games ever, but I personally think this is a much better game. The combat is pretty straightforward and is a story-driven game. Yeah, so the combat is very straightforward. You just like shoot some light at the zombie and until they blink or they come out of the darkness and you can shoot them, and that's how the gameplay works. It was kind of really like fun at start, but it does get kind of old at later. It is still better than I would say just like some boring shooter that you don't really like have any mechanics to it, but that's about it. But this game is mostly story driven game. It's not for like Dark Souls kind of like combat mechanic game. It's mostly story driven. If you guys are into that, this will be the game to play for sure. How long is the game? The game is divided into 6 chapters, and they're about like 1 to 1.5 hours long, depending on your gameplay. And it should take about 8 to 10 hours to beat the whole game. I think it took about 9 hours to beat the game for me, personally. So it shouldn't take that long. How hard is the game? The game is relatively easy with basic combat. I would say like this is one of the easiest games I've ever played. Probably even easier than Pikmin, but it's kind of hard in a way that it's like scary hard. That's about it. But the game itself is pretty easy. Positives of the game. It feels like Inception. So what I mean by that is the story felt like Inception. There's a lot of confusing ways, a lot of twists, a lot of plot twists, and the ending gets you thinking at the end. I'm not sure what exactly happened. It's kind of confusing still for me. I'm not sure. I kind of wish there were more explanation at the end, but we'll see since the second game is coming out. So I'm sure there's a lot more explanation from there. Very thrilling experience. That was probably the best scary game I've ever played. In terms of like thrilling experience. It felt like I was on the edge of the seats most of the time because it was kind of scary and like um the story itself is very thrilling. Like it makes you like feel the chills of the game, like the whole darkness theme and everything.
Back to work, boy.
So voice acting, that was one of the best voice actings ever too. I think Alan Wake's voice was really good. Um, Barry, Barry was good. There's not much. Like it's mostly Alan basically, and it was really good that even the script scripts that you find throughout the game, there are some scripts that you find throughout the game that are important. That is also read by Alan Wake, so you don't actually have to read them yourselves. So that was nice.
Wrenched itself loose from the bridge's steel framework. Wrapped in darkness, it floated in midair, twitching. For a moment, I didn't understand what I was looking at. The heavy object lurched at me with impossible force. I threw myself out of the way, but just barely. When I turned my flashlight on it, it shook in a dark rage before it flew at me again.
Negative. Combat is probably too basic. It could have been like the enemies could have been more variant. They could have made it a little more engaging to make the combat more fun, but it is what it is. Combat felt a little too basic for me. But other than that, there's not that much negative to talk about in this game. The game is really good. But at the same time, it is too short too, I think. I think the perfect gameplay hour should be about like 20 to 30 hours. For a $60 game in today's standard. I mean, it was $50 probably back. No, it was $60 back then too. I'm pretty sure it was a 360 game. So yeah, I think 9 hours may be too short. Like 8 to 10 hour games. I would like it to be like at least 15 hours. That's probably about the right length at the minimum. So that's about the negative. That's about it. So I'm gonna give this game a 9.5 because it was really good. Story was amazing and uh felt like watching a really fun TV series or season that will continue into the second game, which is probably the second season of the game, whatever that means. But that was pretty much it. Alan Wake, if you guys are into really fun stories or really fun, engaging, thrilling experience, this game is it. I don't think there's. I played good amount of suspense games or suspense slash horror games, and this was probably the best game I played. So, if you guys are into that, definitely recommend this game. And thanks for watching this review.